Hello, dear viewer. As most of you may know, because I never shut up about them, I have a lot of stories living in my head, and the dream is for them to become official properties with their own loyal fan bases and merch. Like choosing a medium, it's very important to decide which route to take. Going independent, or going through a corporation. Both have their merits and pitfalls, and separate requirements on either side. So how do you choose what's best for your creation? I'm genuinely asking you guys, because I have no idea. Like any predicament you face while suffering from decision paralysis, you explore your options. Best to start with some research and a pros and cons list. One pro of going independent is that you have many options and have your choice of programs. A con is you really have to rely on crowdfunding because animation is expensive. A pro of corporations and going with a studio is that they are fully funded, but a con is you live in fear of budget cuts. A pro of indies, you have full, air quotes, creative freedom to create whatever you like, however you like, whenever you like. However, a con of independent is there are no checks and balances, or at the very least, very limited checks and balances. And what I mean by that is when you're creating a project by yourself or with just your friends, there's really no one to tell you, hey, this is a bad idea, we should probably rethink the story and world building a little bit, or maybe a character interaction. Which leads into the pro of corporations is that they have a full team. They have multiple people working on a project, and they all with their own experiences and outside perspectives going, hey, I know this is a joke that you've made with your friends, but on the outside, it's a little unkosher. Which also leads into a con of corporations where everything must have S&P approval, and not a lot of things do anymore. One big con of independent, and I've been experiencing this myself, is burnout. There is such a large workload when making a series. There's a reason why production on a show takes like 5 years before they even release a pilot episode. However, with independent, you can always take a break, come back, walk away, come back to it later when you're feeling fresh. On the other hand, corporations, like the aforementioned, they have teams, and if you're not feeling up to it, you can hand it off to another person. One specific example I can think of is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Lauren Faust started the show and worked with it for, I think, the first 2 seasons, before then she stepped down, and then the other team of writers took over. That being said, the biggest con of corporations is cancellations of your show is out of your control. Even if you have all the notes, all the plans, ready to tell them, hey, this is where this series is supposed to go, it doesn't matter. When they lose steam, the show is gone. Another pro of independent, and my personal favorite, is the passion. The passion of a self-made product is so personally rewarding. However, a biggest con of that, there is low payout. You throw your entire heart and soul into a project, and that is time you are not getting back if it doesn't work out. Corporation pro is that they are professionals. At least you'd hope so. When you sign on with a corporation, some things, even if you love an aspect about a character, will have to be cut or changed for the sake of professionalism. Not every character in a show can be a Tumblr joke. Separately, a con of going corporate is then you basically become a slave to merch sales and show ratings. Like I said, cancellations are outside of your control. If no one's buying the toys, your show or that character just might get killed off. Along the same vein, with going fully independent, you can take risks, tell a story that no one else has told before. Also a ton of independent, it may not work, but hey, someone out there will like it. Now, admittedly, some studio out there may be willing to take a gamble on your niche experimental type show, but typically with corporations, they're not going to take that kind of risk. Like I said, animation, because I'm assuming your show's animated, is a large investment. The entertainment industry is a pillar of the economy because it takes so much money, but it also makes so much money. They're not going to waste their time on something that's not going to make them money. Going fully independent, I've noticed with myself, is that it takes so long to get anything done. I'm by myself here working on everything from concept, sketches, world building, writing, character design, setup, research, programming. For independent, that would all be your responsibility to take on. And it is a daunting task. However, with independent, you can take your time. Polish it till it sings. However, with corporations, like I said, they have a full team. It's a streamlined process. There are different steps, departments, but it is their sole job to do one part of production. So all the load is not on one person. However, because it is such a streamlined process, some studios and companies do tend to rush production and demand that a show be done in 10 months instead of the regular 2 years it takes to make one season, and then you get things like Transformers Prime. It cannot be overstated that it is a very daunting task to take on an entire project's production independently. And yes, corporations do have the resources, and I know it seems like I'm repeating myself, but these all tie into each other. While corporations have the resources to make a show get off the ground, however, in going independently, we also have the option to get shows off the ground, and open source tools that, yes, did come from a corporation, like that one program DreamWorks used to make their movies that went open source. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of it. Both are pretty evenly balanced, and both paths are valid. But ultimately, no matter which way you go, it all starts with you. So what are your needs and expectations? If you have a strong base for your story and just need someone to fill out the rest, signing on with a company can open up so many new possibilities that you never even would have dreamed of. Or if you're like me, and are a bit of a control freak when it comes to every single little detail, independent may be the best way to go. It is a long haul, but at least you have full creative control. Even if it means I'm living out of my parents' basement. However, all things considered, personally, I think corporations have become obsolete. Hot take, I know. But after everything I've read and seen, and everything I just listed previously, anything a studio can do, indie can do as well. We have the tools. Literally anyone with internet access can find free programs, tutorials, and other like-minded people to help execute their vision. We don't have to rely on big companies for our entertainment. We can just make it ourselves. Just look at Lackadaisy. Their entire comic, show, and perhaps even a DVD release was crowd-funded by people who believed in the project and were willing to see it through. Other shows like Murder Drones, Far-Fetched, Ramshackle, hell, even Red vs. Blue started out as a group of friends telling jokes. If studios aren't going to give us the entertainment we crave, we'll just make it ourselves because we can. We can, we will, and we are. That being said, in an environment where anything is possible, that also means anything goes. Any mad bastard can just record lines, draw pictures to it, and call it art. That means anything can be made. So, what if you're an asshole or a degenerate and make a show that is actually harmful and hateful? That is one positive to signing on with the company. The aforementioned checks and balances. Not just anything can we put on the screen, and they are, ideally, held to a higher or at least different standard. Like an HOA. There is some benefit to having regulations to make sure everyone's yard is clean and their houses are up to code. However, it is rather restricting when you want to get creative. What if you want your house to be a different color? Or build a fire pit in the backyard? Or maybe you're just sick of having to dump gallons of water onto a sod lawn, which isn't even grass, and you want biodiversity, which actually helps the planet instead of making it worse for the sake of corporate uniformity. One thing to consider before you choose to sign any deals, just remember that you're not just signing on with a company to get funding. You're signing your creation over to them to profit off. When you sign deals with larger companies, you are relinquishing custody of your baby for them to do with as they see fit to benefit their stock market value. And yes, of course, you can hammer out all the details and still have some creative control, but they have the final say. Or, more accurately, their shareholders have the final say. Remember Alex Hirsch and Rebecca Sugar and the absolute production hell S&P put them through? Studios will put you and your creation in a box. If you draw outside the box, or don't completely fill that box, they will bury you in it and you cannot get out. I'm being a little overdramatic. What I mean to say is, while the dream is to have your show or movie played on the big screen for all to see, the studio now owns the copyright for it, and if they decide to cancel your show, it's gone. They own it now. It's a gamble you take, but if it means your show gets made, some people take that option for the security of it. But even then, it's not guaranteed. The only reason George Lucas signed Star Wars over to Disney was to save his company and so people wouldn't lose their jobs. But then half of them got fired anyway, and now look where Star Wars is. There's a scripture in the Torah for situations like this. It would have been better if they had just stopped while they were ahead. Meanwhile, gems like the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance only get one season, and now all those puppets and sets are just sitting in storage. When I come into power, I'm going to make it a law for whenever someone signs on with a company for their show to be made, if that studio cancels for any reason, or they violate their contracts, they forfeit their copyright claim on it, and the rights revert back to the original owner for them to continue somewhere else. I'm sure it'll be a nightmare, but at least it'll stop them from canceling projects as tax write-offs. Funnily enough, nearly all of my favorite shows were canceled for reasons like toy sales and not reaching the target demographic. Who cares? If people are watching it and like it, it's a win in my book. That's a different topic for another day. Back to the point. To answer the question of independent versus studio, personally, I think independent wins. Yes, studios still have their place and their benefits, but the creative freedom and passion that goes into independently made properties is palpable, and what makes the shows much more enjoyable in the end. I'll take freedom over security any day, I say. Will I still live with my parents rather than going out, finding my own place with the fear of becoming shackled to the 9-to-5 corporate machine until it breaks me and one day I end up taking a bath with a toaster? Just do what makes you happy and feels right.